Thor, the thunder god who defied giants and fate. What if I told you that the mightiest warrior of the Norse gods wasn't Odin the All-Father or even the trickster Loki, but a red-bearded thunder god with a hammer so powerful it could level mountains? A god who laughed in the face of doom, who drank oceans dry and stood alone against the giants at the end of the world. This is the story of Thor, more than just a storm god. He was Midgard's last hope, son of Odin, defender of the realms. Thor, the son of Odin and the earth goddess Jörd, was not born for diplomacy or magic. He was born for battle. With fiery red hair and a booming voice, he became the Norse god of thunder, strength, and protection. He lived in Asgard, in the grand hall of Mjölnir, and rode across the sky in a chariot pulled by two magical goats, Tangrisnir and Tangjosta. But Thor was never one to stay seated for long. He ventured far and wide to Jotunheim, the land of giants, and across Midgard, the world of humans, crushing threats wherever they appeared. Mjölnir, the hammer of the gods. No tale of Thor is complete without his legendary weapon, Mjölnir. Forged by dwarves, this short-handled hammer was the most feared weapon in the Norse cosmos. It could summon thunder and lightning, return to his hand like a boomerang, and crush the skulls of even the mightiest giants. To wield it, Thor wore a magical belt, Mjölnir, that doubled his strength, and iron gloves, Jörmungandr, which allowed him to grip the burning hot hammer. With Mjölnir in hand, Thor wasn't just a god. He was a force of nature. Battles, feasts, and fury Thor's tales are legendary, not just for their ferocity, but also for their humor. In one myth, when his hammer was stolen by the frost giants, Thor disguised himself as a bride and went to Jotunheim to marry the giant Thrym and retrieve Mjölnir. The moment the hammer was placed in his lap as a wedding gift, Thor dropped the act and slaughtered everyone at the ceremony. In another, he went fishing with the giant Hymir and nearly pulled the world serpent Jörmungandr out of the sea before the terrified giant cut the line. That was a battle left unfinished until the end. Protector of Midgard, while Odin schemed and Loki deceived, Thor was the people's champion. He guarded Midgard, the human world, from monstrous threats. He crushed trolls, wrestled giants, and kept the balance between the realms. Thunderstorms were seen not as destruction, but as signs that Thor was out there, defending mankind. The Norse loved Thor not just because of his strength, but because of his loyalty. He wasn't perfect. He had a temper and a thirst for ale that matched his thirst for glory, but he never turned away from a fight or failed to protect those who called on him. Ragnarök, the final battle. Thor's destiny was written in blood. At the end of time, during Ragnarök, he would face his greatest enemy, Jörmungandr, the world serpent. In this apocalyptic battle, gods and monsters would fall, and the world would burn. Thor and the serpent would fight with unimaginable fury. Thor would finally slay Jörmungandr, but take only 9 steps before falling dead, poisoned by the serpent's venom. He would die a hero, but a doomed one. Even gods could not escape fate. Legacy of thunder. Even after Ragnarök, Thor's legend lived on. Norse warriors called on him for protection in battle. Farmers prayed to him for rain. His hammer, Mjölnir, became a sacred symbol of strength, fertility, and resistance, worn around the necks of Viking warriors and chiseled into rune stones. Unlike the mysterious Odin or the chaotic Loki, Thor was relatable. He got angry, drank too much, made mistakes, but always stood tall when it mattered. He was the hammer against the chaos, the storm that shielded the innocent.